Hi friends, welcome back for an amazing video. We're gonna have so much fun today. It is a Sweet November Stamps release day and I am doing a giveaway. I cannot believe it's already time for holiday cards. So the stamp sets I'm sharing today are Naughty List, which has Santa, a bunch of coal, and these sweet little elves. For my card, we're just gonna be using Santa, but I love this whole set. And then the other stamp set I'm going to be doing in this giveaway, you get both of them if you win, is the Simple Room Christmas add-on set. And these can be used on their own, as I will show you in my card today, but they do go with the Simple Room background builder, which I will show you in just a second. And I love that you can use it to create, a whole literal room, or just use pieces to build in a little scene behind your characters. You could go as detailed or simple as you want, and I just think these are a great addition to any crafter's stash. So the rules of the giveaway are: you have until Wednesday, November 16th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Eastern to like this video, make sure you are subscribed, and leave me a comment of anything you want down below. And that's it. You're entered to win these two beautiful stamp sets. So I want to say a big thank you to Sweet November Stamps for giving me these two stamp sets to give away. They will be the ones taking care of the shipping. So just a disclaimer, this is open internationally, but they are not responsible for any duties or fees or dues that are incurred. Those will be on you, but they will ship them wherever you want, as long as you are okay with that. So yeah. Let's jump into the card. I'm so excited. I am just planning out my little scene, and this is what I always do anytime I'm doing a one-layer scene card. I put all my stamps into my MISTI at once and see kind of just how I'm liking the general layout. And this also helps me to figure out my order of stamping that needs to happen. So I'm borrowing the little baseboard from the Simple Room background builder, but I didn't want to use the floor or anything else. I wanted to kind of keep the bottom of this really simple, especially because you can see right now my sentiments at the top. That's going to change. It's going to move to the bottom under the fireplace. So I'm starting out by stamping Santa and my stockings. That's the things that are closest to us in our scene. So we're stamping them and getting them all nice and neat. And then I stamped those images onto full stick Post-it notes, masked them up. You can see with Santa, I didn't even get crazy about being super fussy around his face or the floor because there's no other stamps that are going there. So if you've been here before, you know I don't love fussy cutting. It's not my strong suit. So anytime that I can be lazy about it and skip a section, I will do that. So I stamped my fireplace into its little place in our scene, masked him up, and now I'm stamping in that baseboard just across. I made it so that it's up just a little bit, so that kind of ledge at the bottom of the fireplace sticks out, kind of like it's jutting out into the floor. And now I'm adding this wainscoting. I love this. I think it looks so cute. I think it just takes the detail level in your card up a notch without you having to do any kind of excessive crazy coloring, because the coloring on this is so simple, but it really packs a punch. So I just lined up the bottom of that wainscoting with the top line of my baseboard, stamped that all into place. And then the next thing I believe is going to be adding in the decorations on the top of the fireplace. And I knew I wanted to get that stamp as close as possible to the fireplace. So I did take those other masks out of the way. The way that Amy drew this stamp is just so cute. And it butts right up against it. Like the bottom has a little buffer built in so that you can stamp it basically like right on top, and you're still not gonna cross over that line, which I just think is so perfect. Like you can see there's that little tiny gap, so you don't even have to worry about masking if that's what you're going to use that for. And then this is when I decided to switch it up, and I tucked my sentiment right under the fireplace next to the Naughty List, and I just think this is so cute. The nice list is overrated anyway. It's okay. It's okay that you're on the naughty list. I love that this stamp set has these teeny tiny little sentiments or those big hefty sentiments so that you can really decide if you want a little sentiment with your big scene or a big sentiment and then just add in a couple small elements. I just think that that's so cute. So now we're going to jump into our Copic coloring. And I did leave a lot of this in. This is a little bit of a longer video for me, so I hope that you don't mind, but I do love coloring in these scenes. Scene coloring and Copic coloring is what got me, you know, hooked on YouTube and into card making in general. So part of my heart will always belong to coloring videos like this, and you know, I'm a sucker. I have to leave in as much as I can. So on the skin tone, I did repeat that process a second time. You saw it kind of jumped in saturation, and that's what I love about doing 2 layers, especially for something like skin, is that you really do get that extra saturation and definition. It really helps everything to pop. And then I'm going in with some neutral grays for Santa's hair and beard. Just keeping that coloring really simple. I wanted there to be some kind of hair texture, but I really didn't want that to be the focus. So I just left it really simple, kind of thin lines. So now I'm working on the naughty list. I wanted to bump up the shadow from where the paper is kind of curling and waving over itself. So I went in with some W5 first, that warm gray marker, before I went in with kind of my parchment colors, just to make sure that that shadow really popped and everything was nicely defined. So I went over everything with that lightest E40 marker just to make sure that the blending was as smooth as I could get it. And then for the wall, I wanted to stick with neutrals. I still don't have a full Copic collection, and I'm missing some of my markers. The caps haven't been sitting right, and I know some of it's my own fault from cleaning, but I swear some of them I've only used once or twice, and there's something going on with the caps. So I am down a couple markers. So my blends got a little creative here. I went in with some E markers just to create a nice neutral wall. And then I wanted all of my woodwork on that wainscoting, the baseboard, and the floor to all be in the same color family, just so that everything kind of went together and it didn't pull or distract too much from Santa and kind of the fireplace, which I wanted to be more of the center pieces and pull more of the attention. So for the wainscoting, I went in with that E29, E27. I'm going to go in with some E25 just to start to blend that out. And I'm leaving that little bit of highlight for that E23. And I repeat the exact same process on the rest of the wainscoting. You did take that out because it's just a lot of line drawing at that point. I use the same tones, like I said, for that bottom floorboard, and I did make sure that my shading was at the bottom, not even just because of light source, but so that it would pop against the wainscoting. So keep that in mind when you are using the same color families for things that are all lined up next to each other, that you don't want to put dark and dark next to each other if you can avoid it. You want to put dark next to light so that you get that really beautiful contrast. So now for my fireplace, I wanted to get a little creative with the colors I was using for these bricks. And so I went in with E09 to start, which is this beautiful, very orangey red brown color. And I knew I was going to pull in some true reds, but I didn't want them to compete or match with Santa's pajama red that we're going to do, which is my favorite red color scheme. So I needed a red that would be friendly enough without being matchy. So then I grabbed E27 or R27, R17, which are definitely colors I don't use a lot. So it was really fun to kind of play with those. And then just to darken the inside of my fireplace, I went in with some neutral grays. I wanted you to be able to see that beautiful grate that is in the picture. So I kept that N4 right through the center so that way you can still see that detail. It doesn't get lost. But I really wanted the upper part of the chimney to look, or of the fireplace to look nice and dark, like it goes up into that chimney. So I used some golds to color in the little joy sign and added in some berries. And then I had fun layering in 3 different greens with little flicking motions to fill in the garland that's kind of running across the top. And I filled in most of the center part with that G94, and then I'm going to go back in with YG99 and really flick out those colors and kind of create a little bit more definition and that pine needle texture. And I just love how this looks. So I added the teeniest bit of shading to the candles just so they didn't look too plain. And I used the same greens as from the garland on the stockings, just again to make sure that everything looked very harmonious. I did the same plain green on all three because I didn't want anything else to fight against the fireplace. I really like the look of the green versus the red. And I was worried if I added a red one, it would blend in too much to the fireplace. So now I played around with thinking about doing like a carpet or like a color floor. And then I just decided it would be too much. And I really wanted this to stay warm and cozy. And I thought that those E20 family markers were already really doing a great job. So I did use those on the floor, and I decided to not go for that floorboard texture. I just went for general soft shading. And that way I didn't have to worry about lines and up against the list and all of that. So I just did some really soft and long strokes, kind of flicking in that color, and went over that with the E21 a couple times to get a smooth blend. And I saved Santa's pajamas for last just because I didn't want to accidentally pick up any of the red on my lighter tan or brown markers and have it bleed or pool. So that's something to keep in mind. If you know you're going to be using a bright red somewhere, I generally like to leave it for last just in case, because reds are tricky. Reds do not want to be your friend. They are beautiful and they add so much vibrancy and pop, but they do not want to play well with others. So I went in with my favorite, I call them my R9s, right? So 89, 59, 39, 29. Oh, they look so rich and beautiful, and I love these. It was kind of like a nod to the Tim Allen, the Santa Claus movie, when he has his Scott Calvin Santa Claus satin red pajamas. That's what I was picturing when I drew him that. So I shaded in my slippers just gray, and I waved it around so it could dry for a second. I'm going to run my scene through my die cutting machine with the My Favorite Things double stitched rectangle die. And then I'm going to go back in with that R29 to add plaid going one direction. I'm going to let it dry for a minute, and then we'll go back in with the G99 to do green in the opposite direction to make him little plaid slippers. And then I grabbed this beautiful red and green plaid from the Make It Merry paper pad from Honeybee Stamps. And you're just going to see a little sliver of this, but I think it really pulls everything together beautifully. And then this is when chaos strikes. Are you ready? I'm going to mess everything up. I added permanent tape runner instead of liquid glue, and I put my thing down and it's crooked. And then I tore it off. Do you see that? I tore my card off. It was like 11:30 at night. We'd already had a whole day. I was not in a good mood when I colored this, and I was angry, and I ripped my paper off, and I was like, I don't even care. And then I did it, and I was like, now I care a lot. So to fix this, I glued my card back on straight. I trimmed off the little pieces that were hanging over, and we're just going to get creative, and we're going to cover it up. And if you didn't know that it happened, by the time this is done, you wouldn't know. And I'm very proud of this. So I left it in because if this ever happens to you, I do not want you to feel like you have to throw your card in the trash. This, up to this point, took me almost 2 hours. Like an hour and 40 minutes to make this card up to this point, between the masking and the stamping and the coloring. I was not throwing this scene in the garbage. It was not going to happen. So I laid down a little bit of twine. That's what's going to cover the left-hand side where it goes down the panel is torn. And then I'm going to melt these 3 white melts from also Honeybee Stamps Make It Merry wax melts. And we're going in with the Honeybee Stamps Snowflake wax stamper right over the little knot that I made. And that is going to completely cover and hold down the torn area. You'd have no idea. I know it might look a little strange, but it's tucked over there on the side pretty nicely, and you wouldn't know. So there you go. And then you know what else happened? I put Glossy on Glossy, this touch of gloss from Pink and Main, and I always squeeze it onto a Post-it note, and I didn't, and a giant bubble came out. So if that happens to you, don't panic. Use your finger, and you can just a little bit at a time swipe it up. So don't forget to check down in the description box for all of the rules and everything that goes into this giveaway. I appreciate you all so much for being here. I hope that you have an absolutely amazing week. I love you guys so much, and happy crafting.